Hello, everybody. Wow, what a year. That was 2024, a year in review. And you know what? 2025 is going to be even better. And before we get to the non-beer this time, welcome to January 1st, 2025, the new year. And I'm absolutely thrilled that I will be spending it here with you online. At the miniprints monthly live. So this is the miniprints monthly live show for January 1st, the first Wednesday of the month of 2025. And let's start off with giving Steve the cookie. And thank you, Steve. I see you were able to get your order placed. That's wonderful. I will welcome Brian Ferguson. I will welcome Sparky. Happy 2025, everyone. Who else is here? Stephen, another Stephen, John. Let's see. My dad. Hi, Dad. My dad's first comment, I think. Very good. You're on. Who else is here? Stephen Wagner, another Stephen. Dave Hammer. Steve P. 87th PSAP. It's a year of Steve's. Mason Dixon. Happy New Year flocking. Yes, there is going to be some flocking going on this year. Timothy, welcome. Sean, welcome. It goes on and on. Dave Hammer is here. Anthony, Floyd Robbins, good evening. And everyone who's joining. Let me fire up the presentation. And boy, oh boy, do we have fun tonight. Share screen. Window, share. Okay, so we don't have beer tonight because tonight's not a beer night. What we do have is a bottle. And I did promise my wife that I would try not to get it all over the studio and the computer. So let's see if I can open a bottle live on air without creating a complete and utter disaster. And I hope that you all at home will have your beverages ready, whatever you choose, be it beer or wine or water or tea. And hello, Ray. Thank you. All right. So let's see if this works. Are we ready? I shook it really, really hard before opening it. Ready? That's not bad. All right. So into the old beer glass goes a little bubbles. And with this, I would like to propose a toast to a happy and healthy new year. I hope that 2025 is every bit as fantastic as 2024 was. I wish you all health and happiness and lots of modeling. Cheers. It tickles my nose. All right. We got that out of the way. I got to be careful with this. I'm not going to drink too much of it. We have such an amazing show tonight. There is so much to cover. I'm very excited. If you did not see the 5-minute intro that I just played, that was my 2024 year in review video. You can go back and watch this on repeat because I will post it on Facebook, or of course I will just put the year in review video up on Facebook. To celebrate the new year, I'm going to get right off to the start. Free shipping starting today, over $50 US with the code New Year. I know some of you have just placed orders, and I am looking at you, Steve. If the order was placed yesterday, you're out of luck. If the order was placed today and it was over $50 US, don't fear, I will refund your shipping. The new free shipping over $50 US New Year's order offer is good until next Sunday. So you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days, 5 days if you include today. So that's just a little cheers for the New Year's. There was a question as to where you get the mini prints glassware. This was a limited edition. I printed up, I don't know, 5 or 10 of them. And I got them from Shapeways or one of the manufacturers. And 3 of them arrived broken. So I can make these if people want them, but I have zero confidence whatsoever that they will ship through the USPS in one piece. And if anybody has any experience lately, unfortunately, no matter how carefully we pack our mini prints. The USPS does their best to break them. So I don't know whether I dare try and offer these for sale, because I can make them and I know people will want them. But yeah, they're going to arrive in a lot of little pieces, but it's something to consider. Hello, everyone who's joining. Jerry Coffey, Mason Dixon, Mike H.O. Trains. Welcome. Evening and Happy New Year to you as well. All right. Today, you didn't get to pick for 1 to 4 bottles of sparkly. Sorry, there was only the one bottle here. But that's not a bad idea. I suppose I could go get a whole bunch of Prosecco's for next year. Make a note of that for next year. Maybe we will do that. So let's get on to the fun stuff. Okay, so yes, we talked about a year in review. We talked about that. So tonight, I want to do 3 things tonight. I want to do a look back in the rearview mirror. We've done that a little bit. A look forward to some of the things that we can expect this year from mini prints. And that's audience involvement. That includes you guys. So start making your notes, because I want to hear what you'd like to see from mini prints. And the third and probably most exciting is right there in the basement. I have a good friend, a good new friend, and a very, very talented miniaturist and photographer, Pedro Mendes, who you guys are going to really, really enjoy meeting, because he does some incredible miniature photography. And so we'll bring him on in about 15 minutes. So let's look back a little bit. There were 12 fantastic broadcasts, which you guys can find on the Mini Prints YouTube page. Here's a little montage of some of the thumbnails from the past year. Happy New Year, Robert Thomas. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, it was, I was grinning from ear to ear watching that little montage, because there were just such fantastic trips and people and experiences and just so much fun. I'm really looking forward to what the new year brings. All of these are, of course, listed, as will the year in review video, in the Mini Prints Monthly Live section of the Mini Prints YouTube page. Resolutions. So that was a little bit of the look back. And I don't want to go too far back, because I want to look forward. And every year, I do a little post on Facebook in the Mini Prints Modelers group. This will be the 3rd year in a row I've done it. And I ask a very simple question. And the simple question is, Happy New Year. Are you making any model railroad New Year's resolutions this year? Share your thoughts, and we will share them tonight. And I put 2 answers. Yes, I'm making resolutions, and nope, not going to do that. And you can see that nope, not going to do that is in the lead at 73%, which is about consistent with past years. But you will also notice that, let's see if I could do this. There were 2 new entries that people put in. So Linda wrote goals, and I think goals are just as valid as a resolution. And then there was Espen added, you mean buy everything made by Mini Prints. So and that got 5%. So thank you for that. I'm not quite sure that that is anyone's resolution. I like Steve's. There was no drink more beer. Well, you are more than welcome to add that. And I thought that we just start off, besides the Happy New Year's and Happy New Year, Bob, with a little conversation about resolutions and what people think of them. And resolutions can include goals as well. So a couple of the comments here. Montana Northern Railroad said yes to get back to why I fell in love with this hobby, which I think is a very valid comment. Mike Baker, moving to Italy and starting a whole new layout in a space twice the size of my old one. Goals are to have it set up and at least running 3 trains by the end of the year. I think that's great. And I think goals is probably a much, much, much better word than resolution. So let's use goals. Don had said acquire a couple of Northern Pacific Dome cars so I can complete my passenger consist. This year I can feel it. Bill Ford will paint his first mini print and learn to use the airbrush that sits untouched, which I think is fantastic. Can we start a revolution if a resolution? Yes, you can have a revolution, you can have a resolution, you can have whatever you would like. Steve has decided that he would like to travel more. Sean has said that he resolves not to make any, which I think is the general consensus. But we can call it a goal just as well. So I like Bill Ford's. I like the painting. And Bill, there is a mini prints painting tutorial up on the website that you may enjoy seeing. Craig has said that he will work on his Craig has said he will work on his layout more. Buddy has said that something to do with the next peanut butter lid challenge. Well, there's no peanut butter lid challenge right now, but there was a resolution to do a peanut butter lid. So you're more than welcome to do that. That would be fun. And Linda said to finish and publish a book. I'd love to hear more about that, Linda. So that would be fun. Create an awesome little micro layout. Linda's doing 2 road trips, the NMRA PCR convention, and also a week-long Aikido retreat. And she's going to do something and something fitness. So I think that's fantastic. So thank you, everyone, for sharing those New Year's goals. I always find it really interesting to see what people are up to. And I think let's use the word goal, because I think that's a tamer word than resolution, and it seems more achievable. So I'm just going to catch up here with some of the comments. See a lot of people saying hello to each other. Definitely hit that like button. Apparently it's a good thing. Let's see. Unknown and Infamous says, I keep seeing Steve. I forget it doesn't show my actual name. So who is Unknown and Infamous? Let's see. Who else? All right, well, let me just, before we get on to the next thing, let me ask, any comments on the resolution thing? What do people think of goals and revolutions? Because I definitely have a few goals. Yeah, I have a few goals. I'll share them with you if you want, but you guys tell me what you're thinking. One of my revolutions one year was to actually finish a project I started, but I realized that's probably not something that will ever happen. Finish a thought that I started is difficult enough. All right, well, I am in the midst of pulling out my basement layout, which is, strangely, it's not as sad as I thought, but I have been spending a lot of time here in the studio, and I've done 2 things to get the module ready for Springfield, and I'll talk about Springfield in a minute because I see there was a question from Martin about that. I installed the Motorman from Iowa Scaled Engineering here in the studio on the module with Todd Armstrong. And that was surprisingly easy once we actually figured out the instructions and what to do. And I now have a train going back and forth. And the Motorman, if you have not seen it or played with it, is an amazing piece of tech. And the second thing that's being installed are some fantastic crossing gate flashers and bells. And I will do more information on that, including a little sort of dedicated video on it once it's up and running. I didn't want to show it yet because we tested it, but it's not officially running. But it was fun to actually work on the layout for a little while. So I think, as one layout ends, another layout begins, and it's actually kind of a lot of fun. So who's starting a layout this year? Anyone? Yeah, it's true. The instructions, yeah. You're almost better not to read them. All right. Oh, we got a goal here. Let's see. Get the track work done and start scenery. Excellent. Excellent. So Martin, I'm going to talk about this in a minute. So that is a very, very timely question. So hang tight and let's get to the next slide. So let's talk about a couple things that are happening this year. Okay, there we go. So one of the milestones this year is it is going to be the 90th anniversary of the NMRA, or it is the 90th anniversary of the NMRA. So 1935 to 2025. And I will be attending the NMRA convention in Novi, AKA I still think of it as Detroit, just outside of Detroit. So that's kind of cool. And there's another one that I just heard about today from a friend of mine, Stephen Gardner. And this is something that I had no idea about, but is very cool. Railway 200. So this is the 200th anniversary of the first commercial rail travel in the United Kingdom. So it went from, I guess, 1825 to 2025. So it's 200 years of railroading. And there's this fantastic site called railway200.co.uk. And I started digging into it. And of course, the minute I started digging into it, I went down the rabbit hole. So here's what I discovered. 2025 marks the bicentenary, so the 200 years of the Stockton and Darlington Railway and the world's first passenger railway journey, a 26-mile journey between Schiedon and Stockton via Darlington on the 27th of September, 1825, transformed how the world traded, traveled, and communicated. So there's a little neat bit of news. 200 years of rail travel celebrated this year. Interestingly, for those of you in the United States, your bicentennial will be next year, 1826 to 2026. And that was the first train in the U.S. was the Granite Railway of Massachusetts. However, the first railroad to carry passengers, you're going to have to wait another 5 years until 2030. Now, interestingly, the first public, let me move my face that's blocking this here. The first public railroad to run in Canada ran on July 21st, 1836. So boy, we're going to have to wait even longer for the bicentennial of Canadian rail travel. So we've got a few years yet. Between La Prairie and Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu on the Champlain and St. Lawrence Railroad. So there you go. 200 years of railway travel this year. If you're counting the UK, US, and Canada, we're going to have a couple more anniversaries. All right, so let me catch up on. So there are a few of the things that I'm excited about that'll be happening this year. I have heard from Stephen Gardner that he's heading over to the United Kingdom because in the UK there are all sorts of events planned to celebrate 200 years of rail travel. And if you go back to railway200.co.uk, part of this website is to mark all of the events that'll be taking place. So I don't know, anyone thinking of heading over to the UK? It sounds to me like this is a good time to travel if you want some train-related activities. All right. Oh yeah. So then I went down the rabbit hole. And I really got. Okay, we're almost there, Pedro. We're almost there. Then I went down the rabbit hole even further because you know that the two things that we like in our household are horses and trains. And then I started looking at horse-powered locomotives. So these are things that are fascinating. And I started realizing, and I'd forgotten that I was actually going to do a 3D model of these, because back in the 1830s, there were all sorts of competitions to figure out how they were going to power locomotives. And one of the ways they were going to power locomotives was through horsepower, literally, not figuratively. And there you go, Holly. That's right. So my wife and I, my wife being the horse person, myself being the iron horse person, started delving into the history of horse-powered locomotives. And yes, there will be a mini print coming out at some point of this contraption called a cycloped, I believe. So, and the Flying Dutchman was probably the most famous American horse-powered train vehicle. And it actually won competitions, but alas, steam won out. And that's what happens when you start with a topic on the internet, such as the 200 years of train travel, and you go down the rabbit hole. And yes, there will be another mini print coming out. So the first mini print of 2025, I would like to announce that the first mini prints of 2025, you guys have seen the stone fencing before, but I'm happy to let you know that the stone fences have been made, all different orientations, straights and curves and ends and all sorts of things like that. So just do this. So I've got a whole modular stone fence system that's going to beautifully slip together, but not on camera because that would be too easy. There, I got to get the right ends. So we got a really nice little fencing system here with all sorts of modulars. So I guess that's the first official mini print of 2025, but I've teased that one before. But the new one that I've been working on, which is something that I talked about previously, but I've been working on this for a while. Tree armatures. And I'm playing around with rubberized resins. So the goal is to print resin armatures, and I don't think they're going to be positionable, because I think actually moving them might be a bit much. But can they be, can you apply them? Can you sort of ship them without them snapping? All right. So we've got all sorts of puns here. So yes, so we're getting stoned for the beginning of the year. And clever guy, branch lines. So there you go. So the trees will be listed probably within the next couple days. And I started playing with spray paint. And I think the idea with these, let me just here. The idea with these is to provide a base, an armature base, for the types of things that you would typically do, put the flocking on, or the the polyfiber and then the flock. Although it does make quite an attractive just deadwood tree. So there you go, 3D printed trees. First mini prints. They could come with a nest. Yeah, I could 3D print nests. I've been a little hesitant to 3D print nests in the past. Because you could grab a pile of sticks, but heck, if I'm 3D printing the tree, why not? That's a very, very good idea. So there you go. So there we go. So Dr. Mini is oops, branches. They are still fragile, and I am playing around with the mixes of resin. They're pretty good though. They're pretty good. They're still pretty flexible. You can play them around a bit without them falling apart. But once I get the resin, I'm happy with the design. Once I get the resin just right, then, you know, they'll have to survive the bounce test. So a couple fun little things. These and many other new things will be available at Amherst. And to answer your question previously, there are a couple of spots left. So if you don't remember, if you didn't see last month, we're in a new location, right in the center, opposite Scenic Express, kitty corner to ITLA and across from Model Railroad Hobbyist. So this is in the Better Living Center, smack dab in the middle of the show. And we were completely sold out on Saturday, but I've just added 3 spots. So those 3 spots on Saturday will go very, very quickly. And once those 3 spots are done, we're sold out for Saturday, but there are 6 spots remaining if you are there on the Sunday. So miniprints.com/railroad hobby show RHS will get you to the booking. All right, I see some comments. What happens if the horsey wants to eat? The carts had feed buckets. So the horse ate and walked on a treadmill, and it's that treadmill that propelled the cart forward. So horsey can eat, horsey can be happy. All right, John Garvin, good evening. Bradley, we talked about nests. Jesse, yes. Am I going to make different species of trees? Absolutely. It starts with 1. I have to perfect the rubberized resin. Also, I have to see if they sell. They do take a bit of time to print. So, you know, what are people able to pay for a tree armature? And I think we'll start with this as a deciduous maple type tree. Could be an apple tree or maple tree. We'll start with that one. And then depending on sales and reception, take it from there. All right. What is next? All right. So I think it's 7:33. I am more or less on time to introduce a Meet the Modeler that we haven't quite had a Meet the Modeler like this before. Yes, Steve, I think it will be an apple tree. Yeah, definitely. They're perfectly sort of shaped for apple trees. But I mean, once again, it's an armature, so you can choose to do with it what you would like to do. All right, so the modeler who is right there. We've had lots of modelers on before, but we've never had a modeler who doesn't actually have a layout, i.e. model trains. And this person reached out to me and we met and we're in the same city and I was completely blown away. So let me get my little presentation up here and go to the next page. And I'm going to introduce, without further ado, how do I do this? There we go. I'm going to bring him in to the chat because I don't like doing introductions. I like to let the person introduce themselves. A very talented miniaturist and photographer, Mr. Pedro Mendes. Welcome.
Hello, Bernard. Thanks for having
me. You are live.
Awesome.
So you take pictures of little things.
Exactly. I started the year calling myself a toy photographer, but I have recently switched to just miniature photographer because I am just getting into just all sorts of little things. They don't have to be toys.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
And
you where do we begin? Who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Tell
so
me
I'm
about yourself.
most of my time is spent doing podcasts, radio, audio documentaries. That's what I've been doing for the past 25 years. I spent a lot of time at CBC Radio, but now I'm working at an independent company and I've done freelance work. But all that time, I was collecting toys, building models. It started with Japanese, a lot of anime inspired stuff, Godzilla inspired stuff. But around early 2000s out in Vancouver, in a Japanese toy store, I discovered these snap together N-scale buildings from Japan. And I've actually got a few of them up here on this shelf over here. And they're mostly from the 1930s, 1940s. And I just started collecting them like Pokemon until I just had dozens of them. I'm like, what am I going to do with all of these? And so I did actually build, and I have a layout. It's about 2 feet by 3.5 feet. And it has tracks. And I actually looked at like Google Earth so that I could plot out the city exactly as it was and as it would be in Japan. The trains don't move. It's not electrified or anything like that. And I built it for my models, for my robots and these sorts of things. But it just sort of sat there for years and years and years. And I would occasionally take a picture. But it was only earlier this year, when I just randomly, some algorithm sent me to a YouTube video about doing toy photography and miniature photography. And I am still just amazed. It's not only how many people are doing it, how many people are doing such amazing work, and how many people are so open to share how they're doing it and all their different methods and all their different little hacks and ideas and concepts and stuff like that. It's amazing because, you know what I mean? You can learn how to do it, and then you can inspire yourself to do even more than you ever thought. And so all the toys that have been gathering dust for 20 years, now they've become props.
They have a purpose.
They have, exactly. Well, actually, what I often say is I'm finally playing with my toys after all this time.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I mean, it's like it says right, where to go? Over there. Like, these miniatures are hot. Like, I was so excited to meet you because, model railroaders, we've been doing this for years. A lot of model railroaders, have been weird in their basements since they were, 8 years old or 4 years old or whatever. But it seems like the rest of society is suddenly caught up to the fascination that we've had all these years with little miniature things. And to meet someone like you, I mean, who arguably, I would say you're not a model railroader first and foremost.
Well, that's the funny thing, is because I think because these worlds, the Venn diagram, whether you're talking like anime robots or model railroading, we overlap a lot. Like, you'll go into shops and you'll find a lot of the same materials in the stores, even though one is focused on that or whatever. And I've been going to model train shows and stores for years and years and years and years. Like I met the Little Canada guys back when they were still up in Mississauga. And I've been to so many shows and shops and stuff like that, because it's that same fascination, that idea that you are like, you can see this entire world. You can be inside of it. You can picture yourself inside of it, but you can also see it from above and from outside. And the story that you create, the world that you create, I think all those desires are the same.
So can we see some of the worlds that you create?
Oh, yes, totally. I'm going to share my screen. What I'm going to do, and you let me know when you can see this, if you can see it.
Okay. There we go.
You can see my website? I
can.
Okay. So to take it back to that first image that you shared, which I call A Lovely Day at the Lock, this is one of the first orders that I put in with you when I saw these on your website, because when I first discovered you, and I was like, well, I don't really do that many train layouts, so I don't know, how much stuff I would actually use. Then I started digging deeper and deeper into your website, and I saw, it's always been a fascination, a love of mine, are cryptids and all this kind of paranormal stuff. And I saw the Loch Ness Monster, and I was like, oh my God, yes. I can do something with this. And so what I did, and Floyd had mentioned earlier about the water effect, what that is, and again, this is the great thing about YouTube. There's a video out there, it's been seen like 3 million times, which essentially you create it with paper, toilet paper and wood glue.
Okay.
And that gives you your base. It's just like layers and layers and layers of toilet paper just soaked with wood glue. You shape the waves, you let that dry, you paint it, and then layer upon layer upon layer of clear, like high gloss over top of it. And that gives you, and this is the other thing that's happened recently, is that because I'm doing this, I need more and more dioramas. So I'm actually getting more into diorama building and learning different techniques. I'm about to start a lunar surface for a different idea that I have, streets and stuff like that. But I wanted to show you that the little city that I built, you know, I still use elements of it. It still appears like this photo right here, which doesn't use any of your figures. That's my layout. That's my diorama in the background there, which I placed here. I'll let you see. Can you see that now? The behind the scenes?
Now can you zoom in on that photo at all?
Yeah, totally.
You click on it? Yeah, because this is what fascinates me, is that when I first saw your work, I thought you were a master of Photoshop. I thought you were doing a lot of this stuff digitally.
No.
And then I realized that, sorry, I just see something weird. Yes, Heath, I am streaming tonight, so you do need to join. Which is strange because...
Yeah, how else could he?
Yeah,
comment?
how else would he? Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, what fascinated me is, and this is what I love about the site, is that you're showing the before and after. So I saw that picture you did of the lock, and I thought, oh, wow, yeah, that's a mini prints, whatever. And then I thought all the digital stuff. And then you showed the setup underneath and how you go from something that looks like it was digitally created to
like this, for instance.
Okay, so this is I think this might be my all-time favorite of yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've got, you know, the woman, this poor woman, she's been in so many of my photos where she's just casually having an awesome time.
Air
floating
mattress
along.
girl. Yes.
And there's just something horrible happening near her. So this is Godzilla underneath her. And yes, the way this is created is, there it is, a sheet of glass. There's actually water on the glass. That's how you get the little outline around her, is there's the tension, the surface tension on the water. And then Godzilla's got a light behind him. He's actually on an old glass cutting board, so it's kind of a rough surface. Lights coming in from various places. I don't do any effects in Photoshop to any of my photos. What I do, the one, like a digital element to all my photos, let me show you. Yeah, let me show you in this one, because this involves one of your mini-me's.
Right. I love this one. What's this one called?
This one is called the White Sand Guardian.
Okay.
And if you look at the background, you know, here's the behind the scenes.
Right.
So
I love these behind the scenes.
Well, and I started posting them because whenever I showed friends what I was doing, I had to show them behind the scenes, because otherwise, you can look at the picture and be like, oh, cool looking picture. But you don't realize that it's like, no. First of all, that figure is super, super tiny. This thing is actually there. Like, it's in camera. This is a real object. And then they get to sort of see the work that has gone into it. I've started posting now on Instagram and YouTube videos that kind of show the whole process of me putting one of these things together, because so much can go into it. Like in this case, obviously, you know, there was painting this figure, but also painting the truck. The truck was like a pretty crappy little truck that came in a different set, and it wasn't the right color that I wanted. This background is the only thing that I do digitally, and I use Midjourney to create the digital backgrounds, which is a whole other huge pain in the ass process of its own.
Which are then projected on a screen, correct?
It's on my television.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's on my television in the back. It gives me an extra sense of depth and perspective and all that sort of stuff to create these worlds.
Right. I
then,
saw one. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then for me, the turning point that I've been so excited is when I went down to your office and you scanned me so that I could start appearing in my own photographs.
Exactly. Now, what's this one called?
This is called, well, it's just Self-Portrait #1.
Okay.
And it was really just, you know, I knew I wanted this pose, which for the folks who haven't been scanned before, it was like 4 of the most intense traumatic minutes of my life because I didn't think, I'm like, oh yeah, I can hold myself steady for 4 minutes. But it's like, and it's not even this pose. Let me go to the other photo that I did. It's, hold it, not this one. This one with my arms up above my head. That's towering. Me there.
Yeah. Zoom in so we can see if you can.
Let's see if I can.
And yeah.
Can you see that better?
Yeah.
Holding that position for 4 minutes, like the sweat was dripping off my head and my hands.
You're an advertisement for my scanning services at Amherst. Let me tell you.
Oh gosh, no, but here's the thing that I will say: it was so worth it, because look what I'm able to do. Like, by the way, for people who don't know, this one is N scale. This image, yes. My images really mix up different scales depending on perspective and where you are. But this entire thing, it uses the buildings, some of the buildings from my layout, which I've lifted out and put them here. Some of my buildings, you can actually see in the behind the scenes, the mixture. So you have buildings in the foreground and you have a digital image in the background, and mostly using smoke and a little bit of, camera blur by not having the depth of focus too deep. Then I can make it look as if, see, the buildings are all continuous, right?
Right.
Like you kind of can't tell where they begin and end. But again, it was an opportunity. I also like to have fun and sort of, poke fun of myself, where the last one, I'm kind of like some kind of godlike creature floating above the city. In this one, I'm about to get stepped on.
And Heath, who is Human City Junction, who goes live at 9:00 tonight, for those who are who would like more YouTube and online model railroad content, is an N scale, and he's very happy that you're doing this in N scale.
Nice. Yes. I chose it because Japan seems to be, I'll stop sharing for a second. Japan is pretty much just N scale.
Yeah.
I did just make some HO scale houses, some HO scale buildings from Japan, but they're all paper models because there's very, 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 very few. Thank you, Sean. That's very kind of you. So yeah, N scale, and the thing with the N scale is it gives me the perspective, because then the people and the buildings, everything's tiny. The monsters are huge.
We would like a link. Oh, so we've got Floyd saying ingenious, great, talented artistry. And let me just, before I go to Bradley's question/comment, that's what I love about this. It's modeling. But it ties in with what I've said about what we do in the model railroad world. It is art. I mean, modeling is art, or modeling can be art. We can elevate our modeling, and it doesn't matter what skill level you're at, but we can elevate our modeling, whether it's a diorama or a peanut butter lid or a model railroad or whatever this is. It can be artistic, and it's fun. It's creative, and it's whimsical, and I love it.
Well, thank you. And I think this is something that we all have in common, right? Which is when you're building a layout, when you're looking at somebody's layout, you are in this world. And you start thinking about what's going on and where are these people going and what's happening, what's unfolding in this scene. The reason I love what you're doing, Bernard, and the reason everybody loves what you're doing, Bernard, is the options that it gives people. It doesn't just have to be the thing on the shelf. It can be like, and then it can get weird. Like, that's when I saw the zombies and Sasquatch, I was like, okay, I like this because it's a fantasy anyway. I mean, I like it to be as realistic as possible, but then you throw in one fantasy item. Element, and all of a sudden you're like, what is happening? Like, what
well, you can be prototypical. You can be prototypical, but you can also have a little bit of fun with it. So you can run beautifully detailed prototypical engines, and then hidden in a corner of the layout, have something that people discover.
And that's what I mean. The opportunity in a hyper realistic, in a really detailed layout, to then have something happen that's like, what is happening there? Yeah. That's a great, it plays into I think the joy and the creativity and power of this in a way that's unexpected, but it's all in the same, it's all in the same zone.
Yeah. We've got a couple people asking for a link. Yeah. So go back to the site that you were showing us the pictures, please.
You got it. me just share
And
that.
I'm a visual learner. I want more pictures. Add to
So
stage. There we go.
this link is
Yes.
titan.myportfolio.com.
TITAN. So here we
Yeah.
have to. So let me post it. TITAN.myportfolio. RTFOF. I got a print. I got FOLIO.com.
.com. Yeah.
So you're Titan. Titan.myportfolio.com. So did I get it right? I'm just posting it now. Tell me if I got this right.
Looks like it. Yep.
Okay.
Although again, if you just Google my name, Pedro Mendes miniature, that'll take you to my Instagram. It'll take you to my YouTube. So
fantastic.
Those are all the different, those are different places. Something I wanted to talk about, because this relates to something that you've been working on. Are we allowed to talk about it?
Yeah. Let me go get it here.
Okay.
Yeah. You keep going, and I'll grab it.
I'll start in on this. Okay. So, something that I want to say to, especially all the people who are watching and participating, is that if you've ever been scanned by Bernard, and you've allowed your mini-me scan to be on the website, there is a chance that you will appear in my photos, in duress, perhaps, or in something crazy happening to you. Like this poor guy.
It's okay. That's Chuck Diljack, and he signed a waiver, so you're covered.
Exactly.
All of my artists sign waivers, so House of Random is saying that these are just amazing, and I agree. And this is why I'm going to just digress for a minute. How did we meet? You found the website first.
Oh yeah.
Right? And how did you find the website?
I'm trying to remember if it was simply looking for a specific kind of miniature or a specific kind of piece. I think it was
a Google random type thing. Like you found me online.
Yes, I think it was really just, and the amazing thing was, it's like, okay, I'm looking for a specific thing I wanted that nobody else was selling, which is of course, I think the number one, reason people come to you.
Right.
And, I see where you're located, and then I realize, oh my God, you're like a 10-minute walk from my house, 20-minute walk from my house. How is this possible?
I love stories like that when it happens.
Like, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, I will admit, like at first I was like, model railroad stuff. And again, I just saw the words HO scale early on. I'm like, it's not really my scale that I work in. Not so sure. And I just sort of kept it bookmarked. And then I kept kind of going back and being like, wait a second. And then contacted you, and you were like, yeah, I can print pretty much any size you want. What are you interested in? And then it just exploded, because then it was just like, oh, I can do, because for me, the images typically begin, there's sometimes an external inspiration, but often it's the object itself. I'll see the object, the person, the whatever, and it'll inspire me to make something. Do you know what I mean? But this one, I'm going to go back to the
one that when we jointly inspired each other at the same time.
Exactly. So just so folks know, this image, this scan of Chuck is so great, because it's the briefcase. It's like, why the hell is he standing there wherever this is, facing this monstrosity, which, by the way, for people who don't know, that is Biolante, one of the enemies / monsters that Godzilla battles in one of his movies. Anyway, what is he doing standing there? And the briefcase is what does it. Anyway, but as you can see, Biolante, he's like a regular figure with a few tentacles. And then I thought, wait a second, I can make more tentacles. So I got modeling clay, and I modeled these 6 extra tentacles, different sizes, to try to create the, this sense of perspective that, you know what I mean? They're actually quite large, but then they get further away. Anyway, as I was doing this, like the night I had painted them, Bernard texts me and he says, oh, I'm working on a new project that I think you're going to like.
And you were the inspiration for this, because I knew what you were doing with like cryptids. And so picking up the rest of the story, I'm like sitting here thinking like, okay, what do I need? So I need and I think someone said, was it you or someone said a chupacabra?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about chupacabras, and then I'm sitting there thinking, well, I mean, it's kind of obscure. I don't know if it, and then I'm thinking, oh, Kraken. So I then turn around and send you, I said, I've got something for you. And here I'm going to go full screen for 1 second. Bear with. That was
me.
Yeah, I hit remove. I didn't hit. Okay, I'm back. So I sent you this, which is I modeled. So this is a little rowboat that I made. And then I did these tentacles coming up out of clear resin. And then you insert boat of choosing into tentacles. And then I made a loose tentacle here that you can then just put, on the end so that you have 8 of them. And so I'm trying to sell you on this like little creature I made as you're like literally doing the same thing.
Yep. Because just so people know, Bernard sends me this picture and then I immediately send him a picture of what I was standing in front of, which were the tentacles that I just finished painting. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this will be a mini print coming out this year as well. And the idea behind it is if you have a water scene or, anything like that, you basically, this will be printed in clear. So all you need to do is paint up the tentacles in the color of your choice. I've seen purple, I've seen red. I went boring green. You just slap it down, on your water surface with a little Mod Podge, insert craft of choice if you want to craft, and then you have a kraken emerging from the depths. But totally open to, any new, different, crazy, wild type, anything that you want or anyone else. I mean, I gotta be careful with time because that's the limiting factor is just the time. Can't do it all.
And that's has been a great learning experience for me. Actually, when I was being scanned by you, Bernard, it occurred to me, that you've kind of jerry-rigged this gear so you can keep the scanner steady and weighted properly and all this sort of stuff. And I'm standing there sweating. And I was like, this is like portrait photography 150 years ago.
Yeah.
This is like new technology that's also kind of super old at the same time. But it's that ability that we have now to do it ourselves. Well, for you to do it yourself, we ask you to do it. I'm not going to do it. Is again, and then sharing it with each other and learning from each other and being inspired from each other. I mean, part of the explosion of miniatures, I think it's always been there, but there wasn't an easy way for everyone to connect on an ongoing basis and share just so much about what we're doing. But I think that now, more and more people who might have just sort of been vaguely interested in it can, like myself, like because of the inspiration of others, I can be like, oh, I can do this. Like I can, figure out the photography techniques, because that's a whole other aspect of this, right? Is building them is one thing, but then photographing them is a huge, huge, huge challenge. But that learning curve is really helped by having so many people sharing techniques and secrets and all these sorts of, that's what's accelerated what I do.
So, okay. So we could do a masterclass in miniature photography, and maybe that'll be, another live, you and I'll go deep on that, but you've got a lot of experience. If you want to fire up that website again, I'll put it up while we chat. I'll wrap it up, relatively soon. I like to go, till 8, but we'll go a little bit later. That's fine. There's Spencer hanging. Show Spencer hanging. Yeah, there's. I love this one. For dear life.
Yes,
yeah, and you got to zoom in on poor Spencer. Everyone's met Spencer before.
There he is.
Spencer built a lot of Little Canada that you mentioned.
And I've now gotten to know Spencer, but I didn't know him when I did this. And so my first message was like, I'm really sorry to have done this to you. I don't think you're going to survive.
There you go.
There it is. There's the behind the scenes. You can see how tiny. By the way, because somebody accused me of using Photoshop for the blur effect on that train.
Yes.
I tied a little string to the end of the train.
Yes.
And while I took the picture, I pulled it. So good old fashioned.
You really do everything in camera. This is practical effects, as they say.
And the explosion is a series of sparklers, like just good old fashioned sparklers, really close to the camera, so that they get blurry and you get some bokeh effect and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is fascinating, and I encourage everybody to look at Miniature Photography by Pedro Mendes, and we posted the link. This is way too much fun. I think everybody is wildly inspired. Someone asked if you were going to go to Springfield. Is Springfield on your agenda? Is that something that interests you? Do you know?
It interests me. Oh God, yeah, it interests me. Oh my God, just like
Yeah.
rooms. I find so much stuff there.
Oh my God, you would be
truckloads.
People want me to put your displays on my table, so we'll have to figure out how to get you down to Springfield.
Okay,
this year or next.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah, because I think you would have a ball. You would have an absolute ball. I mean, it's that creativity that you talked about. You know, that sort of everyone's feeding. It's that fever dream of creative electrons bumping into each other.
And I think, I mean, to a certain extent, age and culture. Floyd mentioned earlier The Twilight Zone, and that is a show that I adored, absolutely adored, when I was younger, and started to create that world of weirdness in my mind. So I think, you know, even though a lot of my touch points might come from Japan, I think we kind of share some of those cultural concepts and weirdness and storytelling, and so that's why I think they all come together in a really great way.
So tips, model photography tips, which we can't cover in minutes, you know, that's days and hours. But how are you able to get such amazing photographs? I mean, yes, it's the creativity. Yes, of course, it's the mini prints. You know, yes, it's the subject matter.
Yes.
But what is your setup? Is it
you know what? Let me show you.
Is it tell me a bit about that?
I'm going to show you a little bit because I've actually got, look at this behind the scenes. Boom. I got a shot that I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
And that's 2 huge chunks of stone that I just found in a back lane.
Okay.
Red light, and then I'm not sure you can see it, but there's a mini-me. I think it's an S-scale mini-me. I don't know if I can zoom too much more, but I'm there on the ground. Anyway.
All right, you're teasing. This is good. We'll look for the photograph.
That image will come at you. That image will come at you in another week or so.
Perfect.
But as you can see right now, it's just an object in my room. Lighting. I cannot stress. The camera is very much secondary. Somebody just asked about camera lenses, probe lenses. I just have an old DSLR that I use. It's a Nikon. It's not a very good one, but at least it's digital and it gives me some control. I use a zoom lens. I think it's an 18 millimeter to 55 millimeter. I'm usually down around the 24 millimeters, so I'm pretty wide. And there is an ongoing, just constant struggle with the lenses and stuff, but it's all about lighting. It is all about lighting. Like having as many, I would put like so much more of your budget or your work into lighting than into the camera, because the lighting will do everything. And that's everything from like little tiny lights that you can place in various spots. The big one for me that I discovered is LED strip lighting, like the stuff that people put under like cabinets.
Oh yeah.
That stuff is amazing because you can just thread it through your entire layout. It kind of looks like city street lights. And then I have a controller with a dimmer, all that kind of stuff. Okay. But then, you know, you need, and diffusers. Diffusers are so important to give you natural light. And then it's about playing with creating different kinds of light, different moods. Yeah. That's a huge one. But the other big piece of technology that changed everything for me is a portable smoke machine.
Oh, right.
And if you look, they're handheld. They're about like $100 to $200.
Yeah, you have a video of it somewhere, and you're you
can see me actually placing the smoke, because what the smoke does, it not only reflects the light and gives you a little bit more ambient light throughout, but it creates just enough of a haze that things start to look real. I'm going to give you just one last quick example.
Yeah, please. I mean, I don't want this to end, so, you know.
Like in this one, for instance.
Let me add it. Hang on. I gotta. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness.
With
the tail. The tail is the best.
But then just the dissolution of this poor.
Oh, there's my son, Max.
Yep. There he is.
Yeah. There he is.
Down there.
There, yeah.
Just devastated. Just devastated.
Devastated. Just like, no.
So there's what it actually looks like. You know,
Okay, zoom in again.
absolutely tiny.
God.
Like these are end scale buildings, end scale cars. Absolutely tiny.
Oh yeah, your camera's bigger.
Way bigger than this stuff. Way bigger.
Yeah.
But once I added the smoke, it because it's organic and it kind of goes where it wants to go, that really starts to give it texture. The same thing with this other photo that I showed a little bit earlier. The thing about this photo is these buildings look like real buildings. That's because of the haze created by the smoke. It just blurs them ever so lightly. Like look at this building right over here. I don't know if you can see my cursor moving around.
Yes, of course. Yes.
To the left of the leg. That looks like a real building. Like that does not look plastic. This one looks a little bit more plasticky because it's more in focus and it's not doesn't have very much smoke over it. But the smoke machine has been a serious help in terms of getting a reality to
Isn't that
to
interesting?
the look. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was just going to be for smoke effects, but oftentimes I can just lay the smoke down, kind of blow it a little, let it kind of just filter in, and then snap the picture, and you just have this kind of like very vague haze everywhere that just adds a level of realism to it.
So you've posted, you've done a number of photographs with mini prints.
Yes.
You're very good at posting them on the mini print modelers group. So please continue to do that. People
I do think it is funny because if people have seen it, it's like model railroad, train, beautiful, shots of layouts and stuff, and then guy in tentacles, and then back to train.
But I think maybe that's, maybe I'm not doing resolutions, but maybe 2025 will also be, more of this. Who knows? Part of my challenge, and I'll just be transparent for a minute. There's so many competitors out there. Some copycats, some just, good competitors out there creating battery boxes for locomotives. So I have to be a little bit more clever, a little bit more. You have to come up with things that other people aren't coming up with. Here, I'll show you another example of something I've been working on, if I have it. Yeah. This was a request, agaves.
Yeah.
Right? 3D printed agaves.
That's beautiful.
So I've done saguaros. And then I've done skeleton saguaros. But, and I've done prickly pears. But, so then there. So, I'm always looking for things that are a little bit different just to, keep ahead of the pack. And that are fun and creative. So I love this cross-pollination, this sort of, these crazy ideas that will.
What that makes me think of, that beautiful agave, because I told you earlier today that I've ordered myself like a 3-4 inch eyeball. I can put the eyeball in the middle of the agave.
A field of prickly agaves.
Looking at you. This could be good.
Wow. Yeah, and this is, so you got to meet Heath. Because I think you and Heath is Human City. So Heath is this guy. And I think you and Heath would have a lot in common. So we got to figure out how to get us all together one of these days, because Heath also has what would you say? Photography passion, Heath. He likes gadgets.
Nice.
And yeah. And I love this comment. Like these hobbies are merging. We can, we don't all have to be train obsessed. We can be miniature obsessed.
Because that's actually what we're doing, right? Yeah. That's what we all share in common. And I still don't completely understand it. I still don't completely understand why we love it so much. Like there's a bunch of kind of reasons that you can come up with, but there's something to it that just captures people and just the ability to create
that's
worlds. Really
down the rabbit hole. We can really talk about what's up with these miniatures, but so oh my God, we could go forever. Paul,
thank you, everybody.
I subscribe to your YouTube. So let's share a little bit of some of your others. So we know that you're at titan.myportfolio.com. You're also on Insta.
Yep. And that's just pedro.mendes.miniature.
MENDES.
Yep.
Okay. And
YouTube is the same, pedro.mendes.miniature. And they all link to each other and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
I did want to mention, because that Darby Rail Services had talked about stacking.
Yes.
Focus stacking. For those folks who don't know, focus stacking is particularly used in miniature and macro photography. Okay. When you're really, really close to something, the depth of focus, it is what it is. Like, it just can't get any deeper. And so part of it will be in focus and most of it won't be out of focus. For me, what I've found is when I'm doing an entire city layout, I actually want some of it to be out of focus, because partially I think it looks more cinematic by having the foreground kind of blurry and the background kind of blurry, but then it forces the eye to the object that I want people to see. But in other cases, when I want a bunch of stuff in focus, then it's focus stacking. Then it is literally like focus on the closest, take a shot, focus a little bit out, take a shot, focus out, take a shot, and then Photoshop blends them all together. So early on, because I had a friend who was like, you can't use Photoshop for anything. And I'm like, dude, I mean, and the thing is, people can use it wherever they want. Like, use it however you want. Sure. I personally, the creative challenge of having to do these things in camera is what drives me. It's what excites me. It's what I like doing. And I think
that's what I think makes
look.
it unique. I think that's what makes it interesting. Is that it's I won't say more of an artistic endeavor, but you're not saying to a computer, make me a fantasy world. There's a lot of modeling skill involved with what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But the focus stacking is more like a tool that we have, that you still have to work really, really hard to get right to get, to portray the story that you want to portray. So, but again, what I would say to everybody, there's so many great videos, so many great videos on YouTube about miniature photography, toy photography, lessons for everything. That's how that's how I started, was just feeding off of the stuff that everybody else is sharing. And it's so inspiring. And, and there's, you can start, like, the photos you can take with your phone are spectacular.
Oh, they are.
It doesn't have to be a DSLR.
And first of all, these phones are $1,000 cameras. They actually are $1,500 cameras nowadays. Yeah. And there are fabulous apps that will unlock more DSLR-like abilities of the camera. So I've got something that I use that allows me to set the aperture, or allows me to set the shutter speed, or allows me to do things that are not in the native software that unlock the capabilities of the camera to make it more like a DSLR.
Exactly. So
you can do quite a bit with this for sure.
Lighting, again, like I said earlier, lighting has changed. That's really what does it. That's learning lighting, controlling it, and having as many options as possible. That is what makes photography exceptional.
So there are a few questions that I'd like to get to before we say good night. Would tilt shift work on an HO scale level?
Tilt shift, not really. The way tilt shift can work, for people who don't know, tilt shift is a way to essentially the lens actually moves inside it's a type of lens that actually shifts slightly in its position.
Pivots, yeah.
It can pivot. And one of the ways that it's used is to capture a wider or taller image than you normally would be able to. But it can also be used to turn what looks like a normal, like 1-to-1 landscape into a miniature by only having a super, super narrow depth of focus. That's called a tilt shift. I do know there is a guy, Felix Hernandez, who's a miniature photographer and artist in Mexico. He uses tilt shift a lot, but again, he's using it to extend his images and to make, to capture wider. I'm still not at that world. I'm still, again, I have a very inexpensive, simple camera. Maybe in the future I'll get more equipment, but right now I'm working with my limitations.
I saw a photographer, and I forget his name, but I believe he was Toronto based. I believe, and there are probably others out there, who was taking photographs of construction sites with a tilt shift camera. And what he was able to do was take a real construction site, like a hole in the ground with excavators in it, and make it look like an N scale model.
Was
So
it a
he was
still
going
or
the
was it
opposite.
video?
A still.
Because I saw
Still.
somebody just today with video.
Okay.
And I swear to God, it's like a model train set come to life, because you get little
Yeah.
people running along and
It's
a little
kind of the
train zips
opposite of
by.
what-
I was like,
It's
yeah,
the opposite.
of it.
Like we're doing like small, trying to make it real, and they're doing real,
Yeah.
trying to make it
Trying to
small.
make it
It's
smaller.
fascinating.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
worlds
Totally.
colliding. Okay, there was another question here. If you are prepared to share your secrets, Martin from Australia. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, Martin. Martin will be at Springfield. Would like to know more information on your smoke machine. Are you prepared to share your secrets?
Of course. I started, by the way, when I first started doing the photography and I saw other people using smoke machines, I have an old like Halloween smoke machine. You know, the ones
Right.
they're about this big. You pour glycerin liquid into them. And the thing is, it would fill because I'm in the basement of my house, which is where my studio is, fill the whole space with smoke. So I
Every
would just
day
be
is
like,
Halloween.
oh,
Every day
God.
is
Very little control. And then I invested in a Ulanzi. Ulanzi is a company from China that sort of does less expensive versions of other technology. Anyway,
Sure.
One of their handheld smoke machines, and it's also glycerin. So I think it's the same kind of liquid that's in vape machines.
Okay, that makes
'cause
sense. What about a vape machine? What about a vape pen? Can you?
Okay, I'm going to admit something else. I'm also a cigar and pipe smoker.
Okay.
And so one of my first attempts was to use my pipe. And I was so like, my head was so, I was so dizzy. I didn't know where I was because I'm puffing like crazy, trying to get enough smoke and then blowing it in. Plus, then everything smells like smoke.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not going to work.
Alarms are going off.
This is not going to work. And I have seen there's one photographer out there in his early videos. He is using a vape to create, but all of us realized, no, this is dumb. This is too hard, especially because the Ulanzi. So it's a little handheld machine that has a hose, so you can point it, but it has a sponge. And when you put the sponge on the end of the hose, the smoke comes out like dry ice. And it just clings to the ground and slowly crawls along. The control is amazing.
All right. Well, maybe sometime we will have you on with your smoke machine. This has really hit I won't say touched a nerve because that's what's the opposite of touched a nerve? What's the inspired
the
people? Yeah, the positive. Right. So this is like sparked. That's it. Sparked creativity. Right. I think the mixture of the two hobbies of the miniature photography and the model railroading. This is something that fascinates me. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing. I think people are amazed. I think you've gone from 19 to 21 subscribers tonight.
Woo!
Oh, there you go.
20% growth.
Yeah, exactly. I thank you, Darby.
Yes, thank you.
You are definitely invited back anytime. I'm sure that you will be rifling through the studio looking for, you're welcome to come anytime and inspire or, you're definitely going to need some stone fencing and some sharp, pokey objects. I'm going to start thinking about things that will go with your giant eyeball. So I look forward to a wonderful 2025 of creativity and inspiration. I am going to add in my last slide of my presentation, which is to say, and let me do it like this. If you would like to see more of Pedro's work, definitely check out the Facebook group, Mini Prints Modelers, because I know that you post your images on there. Always the Mini Prints 3D group on Facebook. I will post when the trees go up for sale. I will post the New Year's coupon code for free shipping over $50. All of the sort of Mini Prints news of what's new and exciting will be coming up on the Mini Prints Facebook group. and all of Pedro's amazing work will be on the miniprints modelers group. And of course, there is also, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, there is the miniprints YouTube page, youtube.com/miniprints, where you can find the replay of this presentation if you came in late, as well as all of the other wonderful miniprints monthly lives that are just as much fun than tonight, although tonight might have been one of the best, and certainly a great way to start off the year together. So thanks for joining us. Any last first words for 2025?
I would just say to everybody is just unleash your creativity and crazy ideas, go after them and see where you get, because you have no limits. Where we play, we have no limits except what we can think of. So just go. Even if it's a little corner, just go.
And on that note, I will see everyone back here next month on the first Wednesday of the month, which, believe it or not, I don't actually have a 2025 calendar. So I have no idea what the first Wednesday of February. Gosh, that sounds weird saying that. I know. But I will see people the first Wednesday in February at 7 p.m. And I hope I will see a lot of you in like 20 some odd days, 22, 24, 25 days at the Amherst Railroad Hobby Show in Springfield, West Springfield, Massachusetts at the end of January. Happy New Year, everyone. Cheers.
Oh.
And cheers here. I'm going to cheers you, Pedro.
Cheers.
Cheers. And
thank you, everybody.
Great show. February 5th, says Dave Hammer. Good night, everyone.